Xiao Yin obtained a bone from the Dosheng ruins, which unexpectedly contained a heaven-class combat skill. Continuing from the previous chapter, the robust figure stood casually in the sky, exuding an unparalleled domineering aura, making no one in the square dare to speak. Huang Xian and his two companions finally climbed out of the deep pit with difficulty, wiped the blood from their faces, and exchanged a glance, realizing that the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit was now out of reach. "Little girl, Uncle Black isn't late, am I?" Seeing that he had taken control of the situation, the big man turned his head and smiled at Ziyin. "And that old turtle?" Ziyin pointed to the star-plucking old ghost not far away. Seeing the sudden pointing at himself, the star-plucking old ghost's face changed instantly, gnashing his teeth and saying, "I am a person from the Soul Hall. What's the Soul Hall to me? Even if I hit someone from the Soul Hall, would they dare to declare war on my primordial ancient dragon clan?" The big man, who called himself Uncle Black, glared and raised his palm, the size of a fan, and slapped the star-plucking old ghost hard. The terrifying power instantly merged into the space and poured all over the latter, and the star-plucking old ghost was seen to retreat in midair. "Get away from me, you're not qualified to touch." After knocking down the old ghost with a slap, the big man shouted fiercely. The star-plucking old ghost wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes cold and unwilling. He looked at the Dosheng skeleton on Xiao Yin, but could only stare blankly. Looking at the suddenly quiet square, Xiao Yin and others looked at each other and smiled bitterly. "This is the suppression of absolute power. You did well this time, I won't report you," Ziyin said with a sense of satisfaction, magnanimously. Hearing the word report, the big man frowned speechlessly, obviously having suffered a lot of grievances. "This time you ran fast, otherwise if something went wrong with the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit, it wouldn't be enough to just be closed up." Ziyin curled her lips contemptuously. The big man who called himself Uncle Black shook his head and laughed after hearing this. He naturally understood the importance of the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit. If this thing really fell into the hands of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan, the old guys in the clan would definitely not let him go. "This is He Qing, also a member of the primordial ancient dragon clan. They are all my friends." Ziyin turned her head and said to Xiao Yin and others with a smile. The last sentence was naturally said to the big man named He Qing. Xiao Yin greets the elder He Qing. "You are that Xiao Yin, the descendant of Xiao Xian. I didn't expect that the Xiao family could still have such a character now. It is worthy of being one of the ancient 8 families, but the blood seems to have been abandoned." He Qing looked at Xiao Yin and smiled, but the last sentence was only heard by himself. "Ancient 8 families?" Xiao Yin was stunned. He had heard of the former. Xiao Xian was the most outstanding ancestor of the Xiao family, but the latter he was somewhat at a loss. "When I knew that guy Xiao Xian, I was about the same age as Ziyin." He Qing grinned, patted Ziyin's head, and then changed the subject. He waved his hand and said, "Don't say more, let's go. I'll take you away first, so as to avoid these annoying guys coming again." Hearing this, Xiao Yin had many doubts in his heart, but he didn't dare to ask more and just nodded. Then He Qing drew a crack in the void in front of him and led everyone into the crack. When the last person entered the crack, He Qing's cold voice came out of the crack. "In the future, you'd better be more restrained. Don't think that my primordial ancient dragon clan won't appear. If we're not afraid of the ancient Heavenly Phoenix clan, let alone you descendants who rely on the Heavenly Phoenix bloodline." When they heard this threatening voice, the faces of Huang Xian and others became extremely ugly. Watching Xiao Yin and others completely disappear in the spatial crack, the members of the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan looked at each other, and no one dared to speak to stop them. "If it weren't for this little girl, the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit would be ours, the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan," Feng Qinger said, biting her silver teeth. Huang Xian took a few deep breaths, trying to calm himself down. After a while, he suddenly turned and walked towards the corridor, his face gloomy, and said, "Let's go. We'll go to that beast spirit cover again and move the bones of the Heavenly Phoenix back. No matter what, we can't come back empty-handed. With these things, although it may not be useful, at least it can block some people's mouths." Watching the Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan members quickly withdraw, The star-plucking old ghost's face was also gloomy, staring at the place where Xiao Yin and others disappeared, and said in a cold voice, "Xiao Yin, wait, we will meet again soon. At that time, it will be the time for you and the falling star pavilion to be completely destroyed." After saying this, the star-plucking old ghost also did not stay, and quickly left the ruins. 100 miles away from the Skeleton Mountain Range, on a mountain peak, the space suddenly fluctuated, and then a dark crack quietly appeared, and figures flashed out from it one by one. "Thank you, Senior He Qing, for your help," Xiao Yin said with a smile to the burly man after landing on the mountain peak. "It's nothing. The old guys in the clan asked me to tell you, thank you for taking care of Ziyin over the years. The primordial ancient dragon clan will find an opportunity to repay you this favor." He Qing waved his hand and said, "Senior He Qing is polite. I treat Ziyin as a sister, and it is natural to take care of her." He Qing glanced at Ziyin, shook his head and said, "This girl's identity is a bit special, very important to our clan, so she absolutely can't have an accident. You can bring her safely to the Central Plains and contact us, which is a great favor to us. There is a certain distance from here to the Skeleton Mountain Range, and then you just need to go east to leave the Beast Domain. But this time Ziyin must return to the clan with me." Hearing this, Ziyin frowned and shook her head to show disagreement. He Qing said, "It's useless if you disagree. This is the order of the old guys. They say you still have the ancient dragon inheritance that has not been completed, and this time you must complete the inheritance completely before you can come out. Moreover, you have also found the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit, and this thing also needs you to deal with it." He Qing shrugged and continued, "With your current strength, staying with Xiao Yin will only become a burden to him. After you complete the inheritance, your strength will also greatly increase, and then you can really help when you come out to find Xiao Yin and the others." Hearing this, Ziyin was stunned, then lowered her head and said dejectedly, "Okay, you win. I will go back with you." He Qing grinned, then turned to Xiongzhan and said, "This big guy will also go with me." "Hee, follow the arrangement of Senior He Qing." Xiongzhan scratched his head and said with a simple smile. "In that case, let's part here," Xiao Yin said with a salute and a smile. He Qing nodded, and the space beside him twisted, and the spatial crack appeared again. "Let's go." With a wave of He Qing's hand, he turned and walked into the crack. Ziyin, at the back, looked at Xiao Yin and others reluctantly and said earnestly, "Next time I come out, I will definitely be stronger than you, and then you will refine the pills for me to eat every day." After saying this, she no longer stayed and turned into the spatial crack. Looking at the place where Ziyin and others disappeared, Xiao Yin also felt a bit melancholic. It seems that without this little girl, there seems to be a lot less joy around. After a moment of melancholy, Xiao Yin cheered up again. "Let's go. The mission has been successfully completed, the soul infant fruit has been obtained, and the teacher's soul problem finally has a solution." Then they turned into a stream of light and quickly flew towards the outside of the Beast Domain. After leaving the Beast Domain, Xiao Yin sent a letter to Mu Qingwan and others who stayed in the Beast Domain, and then led a group of people to start the journey back to the Falling Star Pavilion. On the top of the mountain behind the Falling Star Pavilion, the figure of Elder Pill sat on a huge stone, and the Wind Dozun, wearing a green robe, said to him with a smile, "I have contacted some of the old monsters who had a good relationship with us back then. As long as you can restore your strength, they can become the guest ministers of the Falling Star Pavilion." Elder Pill smiled and said, "If I can restore my peak strength, the Falling Star Pavilion will have enough strength to make the Soul Hall take it seriously. With such a security guarantee, they will naturally agree." Then his gaze looked towards the entrance of the Star World, feeling a slight fluctuation in the space there. Soon the space there gradually cracked open, and several familiar figures walked in slowly, which were Xiao Yin and others. Xiao Yin slowly landed on the top of the mountain behind, looking at the Elder Pill who was smiling at him, and said with a salute, "I have not failed the mission." Elder Pill asked, "Everything went smoothly, right?" Xiao Yin shrugged and smiled. "It went quite smoothly." Then he briefly described what happened in the ruins. Then a wooden box appeared in his hand, and then the wooden box floated up and gently landed in front of Elder Pill, automatically opened, and a golden fruit like a baby flew out from it. It is indeed the soul infant fruit, and it is the best quality golden soul infant fruit. Seeing this golden fruit, even Elder Pill couldn't help but show a trace of surprise. Teacher, you should close the door today. Take the time to replenish the source of the soul, so that you can start refining the body. Elder Pill smiled and nodded, looking at Xiao Yin and said softly, Little guy, have you ever thought about your father? Hearing Elder Pill suddenly bring up this question, Xiao Yin was stunned, and then a deep sense of guilt appeared in his eyes. It's been a long time since my father fell into the hands of the Soul Hall. Back when he was captured, Xiao Yin was just a naive youth filled with indignation, storming the Yunlan sect. Now, Xiao Yin has become a top-tier powerhouse renowned throughout the Central Plains. In a way, he seemed to have met the expectations his father, Xiao Zhan, had for him, but sadly, his father did not live to see the moment his son transformed into a dragon. Xiao Yin said, I will rescue my father. It's a promise I made to my eldest and second brothers. If I can't bring my father back, I won't have the face to see them. Xiao Yin spoke softly, his voice carrying a hint of hoarseness. Your teacher will help you, even if it costs me my old life. Blinking his eyes, Xiao Yin held back the slight sour feeling in his heart, then asked, Do you know the specific location in the Central Plains where my father is imprisoned by the Soul Hall? Elder Pill said, He is not in any place of the Central Plains. I'm not quite clear why the Soul Hall values your father so much. It might be related to the ancient jade on you. Elder Pill frowned and continued, The ancient clan has its own realm, and the strength and heritage of the Soul Hall are not inferior to the ancient clan. They possess their own soul realm. However, very few strong individuals in the Central Plains know about the existence of the soul realm. As for the entrance to the Soul Hall, even I am not clear. But after my various inquiries, it is said that a long time ago, the Soul Hall had another name, the Soul Clan. Xiao Yan's hand trembled slightly. Are they, like the ancient clan, also an ancient lineage passed down from ancient times? Elder Pill shook his head and sighed, but perhaps your girlfriend might know some information. Then Elder Pill patted Xiao Yan on the shoulder, holding the wooden box and slowly walking down the mountain. After Elder Pill closed the door, Xiao Yan and others rested for a few days. When his condition returned to the peak, Xiao Yan started to worry again. This time, what troubled him was the poison in Qing Lin's body. Although troubled by this fierce poison, fortunately, after 4 or 5 days of searching, Xiao Yan finally found some detoxification methods. In a cave behind the Falling Star Pavilion, there was a small pool. At this moment, the pool water was bubbling like boiling water. Xiao Yan occasionally took out some medicinal powder and liquid from the storage ring and sprinkled it into the pool. As the pool water gradually turned light red, he stopped the action. Qing Lin, take off your clothes and enter the pool. If you can absorb this energy, you should be able to stabilize at the Dozun level. Qing Lin was stunned after hearing this, and then a blush appeared on her cheeks. Xiao Yan looked at her appearance and smiled, turning around and saying, Because I need to add various medicinal powders at any time, I can't leave. Qing Lin blushed and responded softly, then quickly took off her clothes and jumped into the small pool. Xiao Yan turned his head and looked at the pool and said softly, Enter the cultivation state and absorb the medicinal power in the pool water. When she heard Xiao Yan's gentle voice, Qing Lin's shyness and nervousness gradually weakened, and she slowly entered the cultivation state. Seeing Qing Lin entering the state and preparing to stand up, Xiao Yan's gaze suddenly stopped on the latter's smooth back, seeing a mysterious tattoo faintly emerging on her back, which seemed to be a coiled dragon, but it had 9 snake heads. The faint heat mist in the pool water rose, and the mysterious tattoo on Qing Lin's smooth back flickered. What exactly is this thing? Xiao Yan frowned, pondered for a long time, still no result, could only shake his head to suppress the doubt in his heart, waiting for Qing Lin to wake up and ask her later. To completely eliminate the Emperor's corrosion heart poison in Qing Lin's body, a rather cumbersome process is needed. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed, and Qing Lin in the pool finally had a move. Is it about to be completed? Xiao Yan sat on the stone seat beside the pool and murmured to himself. Suddenly, a splash came from the pool, and he was stunned for a moment, just about to stand up when the entire cave trembled violently. And in the energy-filled smoke, a strange eye the size of a head appeared out of thin air. In this eye filled with green color, 3 small dots quickly enlarged and finally turned into 3 strange green flowers, rotating rapidly around the pupil, azure serpent triflower pupil. Seeing this strange eye appear, Xiao almost subconsciously took a step back. However, he had just retreated when the demon eye suddenly burst, and a huge figure rushed out of the pool water towards Xiao. Looking at the huge figure rushing towards him, Xiao couldn't help but gasp. This is a huge snake with 9 snake heads, emitting an indescribable fierce aura. The 18 eyes on the 9 snake heads are now all blood red, and the most peculiar thing is that the scene in these blood red eyes is exactly the same as when Qing Lin uses the azure serpent triflower pupil. Xiao stared tightly at the 9-headed snake rushing towards him, and he suddenly shouted, "Qing Lin!" Under this shout, the huge body of the 9-headed snake paused, and a trace of struggle appeared in the blood-red eyes. A moment later, its body suddenly emitted a strong light. The body quickly shrank, and then fell from mid-air. Looking at Qing Lin, who woke up in his arms, Xiao asked, "Are you okay?" Qing Lin slowly opened her eyes, looked at Xiao, who was close at hand, was a little stunned at first, and then she hurriedly grabbed and hid behind the stone pillar. Hearing the sound of dressing, Xiao couldn't help but touch his nose, feeling a bit embarrassed. After dressing, Qing Lin came out from behind the stone pillar with a red face. Xiao coughed lightly and asked, "What was that just now?" Then, Qing Lin clenched her hands tightly and stammered, "That is the soul of the ancient heavenly serpent." Ancient heavenly serpent? Xiao was stunned for a moment. He had heard of the name of the ancient heavenly serpent. It is said to be one of the ancestors of the ancient snake demon beasts. Speaking of it, it can be considered a level of demon beast with the ancient heavenly phoenix, but the number of ancient heavenly serpents is much less than the phoenix, so it has been extinct since ancient times, let alone now. No, I remember that the ancient books did not mention that the ancient heavenly serpent had 9 heads. This is a mutation. When I first came to the Central Plains, I mistakenly entered an ancient mountain range, and then I met the skeleton of an ancient heavenly serpent. I was curious and used the azure serpent triflower pupil, but I didn't expect to summon a soul from the bones. Qing Lin said with a bitter face, "This thing is very difficult to tame, and even if I use the azure serpent triflower pupil, it doesn't listen to me. But fortunately, as my strength increases, its resistance is getting weaker and weaker, and I think it will be easy to control in the future." Xiao looked at Qing Lin in surprise. Control a mutated ancient heavenly serpent? If this thing grows up, it can fight even the Dosheng strong. If the Tianxi has a physical body, I really can't control it, but this guy is just a soul, and it's not that I want to control it actively, it's that it wants to stay here. Qing Lin said helplessly, in ancient times, there were only 2 top demon beasts that truly had the royal bloodline of snakes. One is the ancient heavenly serpent, and the other is the sky-devouring python. Xiao eyebrows twitched. It seems that after the evolution of Kai Lin, it is the 7-colored sky-devouring python. Is the toxin in the body solved? Xiao looked at Qing Lin and asked. Qing Lin nodded and said with a smile, "Now my strength has reached the 1st star dozun. If I use the azure serpent triflower pupil, I should be able to control the snake-shaped demon beast with strength up to the 4th star dozun. Since it's solved, let's go." Xiao waved his hand and turned to walk out of the cave. When Xiao walked into the hall, he saw Elder Pill sitting in the first seat at a glance. With his ability, he could naturally perceive the changes in Elder Pill's soul power, and he was pleasantly surprised. "Teacher, has the source of the soul been supplemented?" Elder Pill smiled and nodded and said, "The effect of the soul infant fruit is unexpectedly strong, and the source of the soul has returned to the peak. The matter of refining the body should also be able to start. Refining the body also requires some materials. Don't worry, I have prepared for these years." Xiao flicked his fingers and took out the bone marrow fusion pill, the essence blood of the heavenly demon phoenix, and the skeleton of the Dozong Peak. The only material among these 3 that dissatisfied him was this skeleton. As for the skeleton, I have one of the 4th star Do Zun. The Wind Do Zun next to him smiled slightly, and with a wave of his sleeve, a stone coffin fell to the ground with a bang, and there was a light gray skeleton inside. This was an enemy of mine before, and I was afraid that no one would collect his body for him, so I helped him to collect it. Now these 3 materials are all the best choices, and refining with them should be able to let Yao Qin return to his former peak strength, but I don't know if it can break through Do Zun to the level of Do Sheng. Elder Pill shook his head. Difficult. Do Zun and Do Sheng are 2 completely different realms. Since the materials are all ready, then start tomorrow. After Yao Qin recovered his peak strength, the Falling Star Pavilion would not have to worry about the revenge of the Soul Hall. The Wind Do Zun pondered. Xiao Yin and Elder Pill both nodded. After deciding the time to refine the body, Xiao Yin returned to his residence first. Back in the room, he sat cross-legged on the bed and flipped his palm, and 3 jade-like ribs appeared in his palm. Holding the ribs in his hand felt cool, and the ribs were covered with strange small characters. Xiao Yin memorized those strange characters in his mind, but found that they could not be deciphered, and it turned out that there was a seal on the surface of the ribs. Understanding this point, Xiao Yin clenched his palm. A dark brown flame rose from the palm, and then surrounded the 3 jade-like ribs. This burning lasted for a full 10 hours, and the ribs gradually changed. The original jade color gradually faded, replaced by a deep dark gold. Suddenly, a strange sound of liquid flow came from the quiet room. Xiao Yin slowly opened his tightly closed eyes, looked at the middle of the flame, and was stunned. At this moment, there was no trace of ribs in the flame, only a strange dark gold liquid. Is this the appearance after the seal is lifted? Xiao Yin whispered to himself. Then he gently stretched out his palm into the flame, paused for a moment, and finally put a finger into the dark gold liquid. Suddenly those liquids violently wriggled, instantly wrapping the whole palm. A sharp pain suddenly came from the palm, making Xiao Yan's face twist. The palm is going to be ruined. Just when Xiao Yin thought that the palm would be squeezed and broken, the sharp pain suddenly stopped. Those dark gold liquids, like a tide, seeped into his hand and disappeared quickly. However, this strange scene had no time to surprise Xiao Yin, and suddenly an explosion sounded in his mind. When he came back to his senses, he found himself in a strange space. This space is not wide. Xiao Yan's eyes swept over, suddenly stopped at a certain place in the void. There a figure stood with his hands behind his back. Soon a voice as plain as water came from the space. Heaven-class low-rank Do skill is the creation of this seat after integrating the skills of hundreds of schools with all his life. This palm method emphasizes the meaning of creation, breaking the sky with the palm and crushing all things with strength. To be able to get the secret hidden by this seed in the bones, it is also a person with fate. And since you have already got the bones, your palm should have been tempered by the golden spiritual saliva. To use the grand heavenly creation palm, you must use the palm that has been tempered, otherwise it will be counterattacked. Hearing this, Xiao Yin was stunned, and the sharp pain just now was the process of the golden spiritual saliva changing his palm tempering. It is really the heaven-class Do skill, and it actually needs such a process to be completely passed down. The grand heavenly creation palm has the power of creation, accompanied by the plain voice. The figure suddenly exuded a faint fluorescence, and the body became transparent, revealing a clear meridian route. And in those meridians, a dark gold energy quickly shuttled. This is the meridian route for cultivating the grand heavenly creation palm. Xiao Yan's eyes flashed with surprise, and he quickly concentrated his mind to memorize the energy movement route in his mind. With the disappearance of the meridian route, the light on the figure also dissipated again, and the dark gold light on its palm suddenly increased. He swung out a palm heavily and fell on the void. A palm fell, and the terrible energy instantly swept out, forming a huge black circle that spread out. The surrounding space was like glass that was forcefully shattered and instantly collapsed. Looking at the rapidly expanding black circle, Xiao Yin took a deep breath but did not panic, but bowed to the figure in the circle. The person with fate, remember my name, the creation saint?